Hello RAMCAD students, my name is Baylet and I am a peer tutor at the Student Learning Center. Today we're going to be talking about the basics of Autodesk Maya 2023. Autodesk Maya is a 3D computer modeling and animation software that runs on Windows, Mac, and Linux. It is used to create 3D models, animations, simulations, lighting, and renderings for interactive 3D applications such as video games, animated film, TV series, and visual effects. Today I'm going to go over the basics of Maya's interface and treat it as if you have never opened Maya before. First, we are going to open Maya by clicking on its executable. We want to make sure that we open Maya using the executable instead of an existing scene file. The first screen that we are going to see is the home screen. The home screen is optional and you can turn it off if you prefer. There's a checkbox for that at the bottom sidebar of the home screen, as you can see down here. This little checkbox we can toggle on and off. That being said, we can start from the home screen as well as the main interface. If we want to get to the main interface, we can do so by either clicking on the Maya icon up here at the top. We can go there by clicking on New, or we can go to Maya up in the corner here. Before we go to the main interface though, let's talk a little bit about this page. The Recent section obviously shows any recently opened Maya files on your computer. If you have never opened a Maya file on your computer before, you're not going to have any. The Current Projects dropdown allows you to select a project file from Maya's project directory in your computer's Documents folder. If you have multiple projects, this is a way to toggle between them. Clicking on the folder next to the dropdown opens another window which will allow you to choose a project file from Maya's project file directory. But let's ignore that for now. Open will open a new window within Maya's project directory so that you can open a scene within the existing project file specified in the Current Project dropdown. But as I said before, we are going to assume that you are making a completely new project and you've never opened Maya before, and we are just going to go to the Maya interface. So the main Maya interface should look something like this. Yours is probably going to look a little different since I have mine set up specifically for me, but we're going to talk about that. First, let's start by setting up a new project. I have an entire other video that is just dedicated to setting up project files and making sure that you understand all of the details that go into setting up a project file and why we have to do it the way we do. And since that video has already been made, I'm just going to do the short version here. So, we're going to set up a new project. The way that we are going to do this is we are going to go to File. We're going to go to Project Window. This is going to open up a new window right here called the Project Window. We're going to click New. And I'm going to name this new project Basics. Make sure that the location is Maya's project folder inside the documents on your computer. We're going to hit Accept. Now that we have a new project, we need to set that project so that everything that we make goes directly to that folder. So we now are going to go to File, Set Project, and click on the project that we just made. Then we're going to click Set, and the window will close. Now that we have done all that, I'm quickly going to save my scene. Going to go to File, Save Scene As. This is going to open up the Save As. You can see up here that it is going to the Scenes folder of the project that I just made in Projects under Maya in the Documents folder of our computer. And I'm going to call this Demo Basics. Now before we save this, we are going to talk a little bit about the files of the files of type that you see down at the bottom there. The two types of files that you can save scenes as in Maya are known as Maya Binary or .mb or Maya ASCII.ma. Maya Binary is Maya's numeric value compressed file type. The benefit of this file type is that it is usually smaller because it is compressed. However, no command lines are saved, and if it becomes corrupted, it is much harder to salvage. Maya ASCII files are the file type that saves as a script with lines of command that you can edit outside of the program if need be. This file type is larger because it is not compressed, but it is less likely to corrupt and it is easier to salvage if it does. Either file type works, but be careful not to jump back and forth between them. I'm going to stick with Maya ASCII and we are going to click Save As. Alright, now we're going to actually talk about the Maya interface. Real quick, I'm going to open up a diagram that I made, and this is going to have the individual sections highlighted so that we can talk about each one. These top things up here, we call these the Maya shelves. This, the big chunk in the middle, is your viewport panel. Over here we have your outliner and your toolbox. Down here we have the time slider if you are doing simulations or animation. Over here we have the layers editor, and up here we have the channel box, attribute editor, and tool settings. These guys we can set up ourselves, and we generally have the channel box and the attribute editor and the tool settings docked here, but you can dock the things that you use the most often over here as well. It's a very flexible interface. Now, the viewport obviously displays all of your scene assets and will be where the majority of our work happens. The toolbox is full of all of these icons over here, which will allow you to switch between the various object manipulation tools. The outliner is a comprehensive list of all of the objects in your scene and allows you to select, name, and group the objects within your scene. These guys up here are the Maya shelves. There are 7 of them, but you are able to create your own as well. These are used to control and implement virtually all of Maya's tools. This is the layers editor. The layers editor allows you to manage your scene by allowing you to assign objects to scene layers. Layers allow you to selectively view, select, and hide model sets. The time slider is primarily for if you are animating or doing simulations and such. The time slider controls the playback range, keys, and breakdowns within the playback range. The channel box is the primary tool for editing object attributes. It lets you quickly change attribute values, set keys on keyable attributes, lock or unlock attributes, and create expressions on attributes. The attribute editor is an editing window that shows all of the attributes of an object or node. It is used to view and adjust the details of an object or node. Tool settings. The tool settings panel displays many working options for the currently selected tool. You can access the tool settings by clicking on the hammer icon up here, which will open a window for you to access it if it is not already docked to the side. Now we're going to talk about navigating within Maya. For the sake of reference, I am going to create a cube just so that you can tell what is happening within the viewport. And I'm going to make him a little bigger. Perfect. Alright, so these are the basics of navigating in Maya. First we have the rotate/tumble. First we are going to hold Alt, then we are going to hold left mouse click. You can see that the cursor changed to like a circle with 2 arrows going around it. With both of these still held down, we are going to move our mouse around, and as you can see, we are rotating and or tumbling this object around in the viewport. The object itself is not moving. We are moving the camera that we are looking through at the object. The next thing we are going to do is zoom, also known as dolly. Same thing, we are going to hold Alt, but we are going to right click and hold. And now when we move our mouse back and forth, it is going to zoom us in and out from the object. The next one we call either the move or also known as the track option. This one we are going to hold Alt again. This time we are going to press down on the scroll wheel of our mouse, and as you can see our cursor has changed to something that looks like 4 arrows going in all directions. And now we can pull our guy back and forth to the side. Now if you need to go further than this, what you can do, like let's say that you're over here but you've run out of room, you can let go of middle mouse, still holding Alt, and you can keep reactivating the tool to get farther away from where you need to be. But now we are too far away from where we need to be, and it would be difficult for us to get back using the same method. A faster and easier way to get back would be to center the selected object in our viewport. We can do this by pressing F on our keyboard. And that is the basics of navigating inside of Maya's viewport. The next thing we are going to talk about is Maya's marking menu. To access the marking menu, you must have an object selected. Then you can right-click and hold anywhere in the viewport to bring up the marking menu. It does not matter whether you are holding over the object or whether you are on the interface itself. You cannot do it over here. That is going to open up something different. But so long as the object is selected, you can right-click and it'll open up the marking menu. If the object is not selected, you're not going to get the same marking menu. The marking menu allows you to quickly access a lot of the most commonly used tools. Once the marking menu is open, continue to hold down right-click, and from here you can drag in the direction of the item that you want to select. It doesn't matter how far you drag, so long as it highlights the item that you want to select. If you do not want to select any of these, you can also just come down here, and same thing applies. You want to keep holding down the right-click on your mouse. And in order to select something off of this menu, all you have to do is make sure that it is highlighted and then let go of right-click. The main modes that we can select here are Object Mode, Edge, Vertex, Vertex Face, Face, Multi, and UV. UV opens up some additional options such as UV and UV Shell, but we're not talking about that right now. Object Mode selects the whole of an object or an object group, as you can see here. Edge Mode selects only the edge of an object. So as you can see, this object is selected, but now we can only select edges at a time. Vertex selects only the vertices of an object. So much like Edge Mode, obviously this is the selected object, but the only things that we can grab are the vertices, or the corners, if you will. Face Mode allows you to only select the faces of an object. And Multi allows you to select multiple parts of an object. For example, if we wanted to select an edge and a face, we could select both. We would not be able to do that in the other modes. Vertex Face is a little bit more complicated. I'm going to explain this as essentially a display feature. It shows you how something is built, and the primary reason that you would use this is to show if you have any intersecting geometry or if you have any hidden faces within your geometry. This is more of a troubleshooting display tool. UV is going to allow you to access the UV options. So if we were to go to UV, you can't really see what's happening because we haven't opened up the UV editor, but it allows us to select the UV of this object. We're going to leave it on object mode for now, but that is the basics of using Maya's marking menu. For the sake of this next part, I have brought in my own object. It is a book. And we are going to be talking about Maya's display hotkeys. Maya's display hotkeys go from 0 to 7 on your keyboard, and we're just going to talk about what each one does. Some of these you won't be able to tell much of a difference in what is happening. 0 toggles the default quality display for the object in the viewport. 1 toggles a rough quality display for the object in the viewport. 2 displays the object as smooth with a rough wire frame. As you can see, it's smoothed it a bit. 3 displays the object with a smooth filter. Objects are not actually smoothed. This is just a preview of what they will look like if you choose to smooth them. 4 displays the object in just wireframe. 5 displays the objects as shaded. 6 displays the textures on your object. If for some reason your textures aren't showing up, always remember, have you clicked 6? And 7 displays the use of lights created in the scene. Because I have no light, you no longer see the textures because everything is just black, because I haven't added any lights to my scene. And those are Maya's display hotkeys. Now we are going to talk about the most useful hotkeys in Maya. These are things you will use all of the time if you are using the program. First, I'm going to start with my object selected. W on your keyboard is the Move tool. This is the tool that allows you to move objects in your scene. E is your Rotate tool. I know that it would make more sense if R was the Rotate tool, but unfortunately that is not how it works. R is actually your Scale tool. This is the tool that allows you to scale your object from individual parts. The center square allows you to scale everything at once. And we've talked about it before, but pressing F on your keyboard frames the object that you have selected in your viewport. The next ones we are going to talk about are the plus and minus tool. Hitting plus or equals on your keyboard, they're the same button, allows you to increase the size of your manipulation tool. Minus, of course, does the opposite and allows you to decrease the size of your manipulation tool. Quick disclaimer for Mac users, I don't use a Mac, sorry. For these next few things, you are going to be swapping out Control for Command and Alt for Option. Holding Control and then pressing Z allows you to undo your previously done action. You can do this as many times as you want. Well, within reason. There's a history limit, so like you don't want to try to go super far back, but like for the most part, Control Z lets you go fairly far back. Holding Shift and hitting Z allow you to redo the last undid action. I'm gonna make a new cube. Hitting G repeats the last action. Now I have 2 cubes. If we hold down X while performing an action, it will cause our action to snap to the grid. As you can see the grid below, every unit that we move our cube is going directly by the units of the grid. Holding down D allows us to move the pivot point of our object. So now we will be moving our object from over here. Holding down V allows us to snap to a specific vertex. I'm going to show this by once again changing the location of my pivot point. So now if I hold down V whilst I am moving this, it will only allow me to snap to a vertice on this object. Now just for the sake of going over it, if we want to move our pivot point back to the middle of our object, with our object selected we can simply go to Modify, Center Pivot, and the pivot is back in the middle. Hitting S on our keyboard sets a key on our timeline. This is something you only need to really worry about for animation. I'm going to go into vertex mode for this one. With this selected, B allows us to turn on soft select, which means that there's a radius of effect called soft selection, which as you can see is going to mess with the geometry around the vertice that we are currently moving. If I hold down B, left click and drag, that allows me to change the area of influence on soft select. Going back into object mode, if I hit Control D, it duplicates the object that I have. If I hold Shift and select the second object, it allows me to select both objects. Hitting P on my keyboard has now parented this object to this object in the order that I selected them. This is mainly if you are going into rigging, but can be useful within animation as well. And if I select both objects and I hit Control or Command G, it groups these objects into one group, so now they move together. And that is the end of the basic hotkeys, as well as our video for today. Thank you for watching, and if you ever need more Maya help, feel free to set up an appointment with the Student Learning Center. Bye!